Okay, so we've got our animation. It starts out in a T-pose, which is kind of important. Let's go ahead and change our time configuration to where it should be. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a box around his feet, and this box will be around the two, well, it'll be his hip. This is his hip. Leave me alone. And so we're going to drag this box into place. Alt X will make it transparent, but hitting F3 will also work just fine. I like to make it encompass the bottom of the backbone, the spine, and then the top of the legs. So L will center on left view, and F will center on front view. And then you can decide how skinny or not to make his legs. Go ahead and plan on them being a little bit skinnier than what you're actually building. So give him some room. I'm kind of looking at something like this. Does everybody have their box? Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to change our box to an editable poly. And we're going to go to edge selection mode and select the bottom two edges with control click. And then we're going to click the dialog box for connects, so that we can add two edges. And when you have that, you can hit OK. So there's a button connect, and then right next to it is the little black dialog box, the settings box, and that's what I mean. And that'll let you change how many segments, and are they offset one way or another. And we want 2 segments. Okay, now we go to face selection mode, and we select the 2 outer faces. These are going to be his pant legs, and we're just going to extrude, again with the dialog box, extrude down to his knees. And instead of hitting the check mark this time, we're going to hit the plus, so that we can again extrude down to his ankles. And then we will extrude down one more time, but it'll be a much shorter for his kind of the bottom of his feet. Something like this. And after that, we'll hit plus again, but this time we're going to click the 2 forward ones. And I'll do that once more and hit OK. Perspective. At this point, if you've got what you've got, you might want to make your pants a little bit more square. So you could use the face tool grab all of these and just move them back a little bit. Or you could use the vertex mode and just grab all of these, and that would bring the feet along with you. I'm going to taper my legs a little bit smaller on the back. Again, this is just, you know, details. One thing that is important is that I want to make sure that these line up with our toe exactly where they should. Right on the lines. And I'm going to make my foot angle down a little bit like this. So F3, something like this is what I'm looking for. Okay. Oh, don't worry about it. It's just making it a little bit different. We'll fix it later. You'll be happy with what you got there, right there. So this part's important. Make sure you don't have anything selected. Let's make sure we unselect and we're just in object mode here. No yellow box. Okay, everybody on the same page. No yellow box. Nothing selected. Damien, up at the top. Oh, right here. These 5. You have yours selected still.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna add the. Well, what should we add first? I think we're going to turbo smooth it first. So let's go to the modifier, type TUR, turbo smooth. We can go to 2 iterations. Please don't go above that just yet. If you want to crash max, that's your own deal, but let's just get through this lesson first. So we have pants with lots of geometry, and that's super awesome. And then we're going to furthermore add a skin modifier, SKIN. And we are adding a couple of bones, just a couple. So under bones, there's an add button. And you should see the one hip, or if you've got 2 people in your scene, make sure you've got the right hip selected. We're going to open this up. Left thigh, right thigh. And then we'll go select thigh, shin, foot, right thigh, shin, and foot. Those 6 bones. And you can hit select after that. Have issues?
Yeah, I guess the word online includes 2 separate things.
Oh, perhaps.
Okay. So just go as far as foot for now.
Okay. Select. And when I hit play, I've got issues. That is not what I want it to look like. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Closer anyway. Let's put the skin modifier underneath the turbo smooth. So what you can see is if you turn turbo smooth off and it's at the top of the stack, it will adjust this mesh all by itself and pretty decently. But the problem we get is things like this, where my knee is now super tiny, and when we turn turbo smooth on, it curves it really nicely. So, in the stack, turbo smooth at the top, skin in the middle, and then your editable poly at the bottom. And at that point, you have pants. Do not collapse all. So we'll just leave it just like this, and that will be what we want. You can lower the iterations. You can increase them. There's really no need to increase them past 2. And why don't you save your work before you break it with 6 iterations. Sure. Yeah, it's similar to that.
Working with that, I was like, I turned it up to like 2, and I'm like, that looks slightly different. I turned it up to 9 and crashed my computer.
Yep. Okay, so one of the problems we're going to run into is if you try to use this whole model all the way up the back of your spine and across your arms, unless you know a lot more about skinning and are ready to edit envelopes, when you move your knee forward, your shoulder blade will go backwards. And it looks terrible. So I only do pants, and then I will do usually like a hard body armor chest, and then I can do skinning for the arms. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do once you guys follow along with me. So let's do the arms next. Make sure your pivot point is in the right spot, so I'm going to turn mine by 90 degrees. Okay. So for the arms, you'll want left shoulder and left forearm. And it's honestly not going to hurt anything as long as you just leave it at the spine. So if you want to do a skin for the spine as well, that's totally fine. 3. No, the clavicle is going to be this bone that comes up forward. This one will be the shoulder. This one will be the forearm. Good question. Shoulders and forearms for the arms.
So which bones do we add to like the chest area?
Just the back spine. So if you were building a chest, you would do lower spine, middle spine, chest, and neck, and neck. That's all. Not head.
Put a lower spine, middle spine, chest, and neck, and that's it.
So which bones are we attaching to his torso? Are we including like
Lower spine, middle spine, chest, and neck. Okay. Once you are done, make sure you add a head. Sphere is a good one. Is your torso moved too?
torso's not sweet.
Can we do shoulder and forearm?
What's that?
His arms, just shoulder and forearm.
Yeah.
Turtle shell was okay. Let's click on your animal palm. See how you still have faces selected? Oh, that's right. Yep. Damien, doing all right? Yeah.
So we're gonna get bend and compression. Geometry.
Mine does the same thing too. It kind of flattens it, converts into itself. New envelopes, yeah. Go nuts, but
I don't want to.
I don't want to. Yeah. Okay, so next steps. I know you guys are still working on making it perfect. I know, but I want to teach you guys the next thing. The next thing is photometric lights. So let's add a plane in here under our guy. Make sure it's perfectly square. So whatever its length is, make sure its width is the same. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a light, and the light we are going to add is a photometric free light. Just place it somewhere above your scene like that. I wonder if I could. Here's this. Yes, please do that.
Just say
Yes.
yes.
How do I remove a constraint? Okay, everybody's got their plane and their photometric light? All right, okay.
Where's your plane and photometric light? I'm trying to build my person. Free light?
Yep.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about making it darker either. We're gonna fix all of that in 2 seconds. So on our photometric light, we're gonna edit quite a few settings. So let's go to the Modify tab, and let's scroll all the way up to the top. And you know what? The first thing we need to do is we need to turn shadows on. Ah, God, I hate this. Make sure shadows are on, and make sure they're set to ray traced shadows. And then we are going to select a template. Why don't you guys mess around with these some? The 100-watt bulb's pretty dark. The halogen lights are a little bit brighter, not much. The recessed lamps are very cool because they have these casting patterns which cast different looking things on the ground. Yes.
I went to the show on this thing. What else is my
Does anybody know off the top of their head how to make Max use the scene lights?
Click on realistic, go down to this,
Ah.
lighting choices.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So, when used correctly, when built correctly, these photometric lights can be used with mental ray, with iRay, with scanline, with Quicksilver. It's just a matter of making sure that shadows are turned on. And then, so for example, let's all go with the 100-watt halogen bulb for now, just as a default example. Then scroll on down to emit light from shape from a point to a sphere. And then let's change this radius of the sphere from 5.5 to 2. And then as an added bonus, let's light shape visible in rendering. So what that'll do is it'll let us actually see the light bulb when we render our scene. I wonder... Sorry, I'm getting fancy and I shouldn't. Too excited. Perspective. Okay. So you have that. Let's see. If your scene was too dark, for example, you hit play here and you hit record, render, whatever this is, and it's too dark. We're going to hit F8. No, we're just going to hit 8. Regular old 8. That brings up our environment and effects. And let's change our exposure control to MR photographic exposure control. And then down here, it'll be photographic exposure. So if you knew what you were trying to match it to, you could do shutter speed, aperture, and film speed. What we're going to do is just an exposure value. And yours should be set to 15. And if you drag it down to 5, the closer to 0 it is, the brighter your scene is. And then the higher it is, the lower the darker your scene is. So I'm happy with 5 at mine. Especially as I hit play and my light just falls and bounces there. That'll be cool.
Were we supposed to do that? Or?
No, not at all.
What was that under?
What was what under?
The lighting,
Press 8. The exposure values?
okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally the last thing I want you guys to experiment with is the iRay renderer. So we're going to press F10, scroll down to assign renderer, and change it from whatever it is to NVIDIA iRay. And then make sure you hit the renderer tab and change it from 1 minute of rendering to, let's say, 8 iterations. And then see what that render gets you. Because you've got something around all of yours, is one, going to take a lot longer, and two, be a lot more crackly. It'll take more iterations to make it stop being crackly. Alright, what do you guys got? Things you like? Kind of grainy. It'll run a lot faster if you don't have walls around it. But again, you know, sometimes you don't like walls. You'll also notice that you don't have any textures. Everything's the same white color. That's one of the things that iRay will do. But we're going to have fun with that. In fact, go back to your... Well, let's just do this first. I'm going to uncheck all of these keyframes. Nope, not like that. Thank you, sir. I'm going to situate my light right over here, I think. So what you're going to want, everybody make a teapot. Put a teapot in your scene. Make my teapot a little bit bigger. Here's this, and a little bit closer. Okay. And we're going to go to our material editor and create a, let's try Autodesk Solid Glass and assign that to our Solid Glass. I pressed M. So the mental ray. If you have the iRay renderer, it should be right at the top.
Is this supposed to be the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see, what if I tried?
Four things wasn't really sad.
Alright, I'll be right there. Okay. So yes, you only have 4 too. Okay, so if you only have 4, just go ahead and build an arch and design material, and then double click on it to get its properties, and then under templates, like template, there's glass. Physical is a good one. Okay. So looks good. We're getting various versions of this is what I'm looking for. Here's a couple of things to change. All right, so I'm getting something like this. Very dark image. I can see my reflection, so that's pretty cool. But otherwise, it's just kind of dark and doesn't look very see-through. So let's go ahead and click on our teapot. And I'm going to increase the segments so that it's a bit smoother. I think I'll increase it to 8. And then I'm going to add a shell modifier so that it actually is physically two-sided. I'm going to make this outer amount very small. Just like 0.25 maybe. 0.2. And now, hopefully, yeah, that's a much better look. Now, some of your reflections will be black because we don't have anything in our scene. If we were using a completely round, enclosed space, we would get reflections more accurate. But for this is pretty good. Now, who's getting just a shadow and not any of these crazy lighting caustic effects that I'm getting? Let's see. You should see them under the spout here. So I'm getting these awesome blurry, well, they're blurry right now because I'm not using very many effects. And I suppose if this was a point light, let's see if I can change that. Radius of 0.2. What's that look like? Okay. So one difference I want you guys to make is to go back to your renderer and your render settings And under advanced parameters is one called caustic sampler. I think we covered that in 3D animation 2, adding caustics for water effects. But under the second renderer tab, advanced parameters, and then caustic sampler. And then let's limit the number of bounces to 4. That'll speed up our renders quite a bit. Okay, so now hit F9 again and see if you get some different results. I need to increase my samples a little bit. If you're getting a very dark render, it's because we don't have enough light bounces. 8 fixed it, cleared it right up for me. I'm going to come around and look at everybody else's. Michael looks good. Blaine, what do you think?
I like it.
Do you have a completely enclosed area, or is it just a plane?
It's just a plane. It's a big plane to make sure that there's no like infinite black. There's a plane.
Okay. Okay. Let's move your light to behind the teapot so it's shining in this direction. We'll get a better view of what's there. If you haven't yet, change your render size to 720 by 1280 by 720. What do you think?
Certain angles, like, too good.
Yeah. Did you increase your number of samples for the light bounces? As a 10? Yeah, increase this to 8. You get some different things like bouncing around and stuff like that. And you guys are dealing with a slightly different material than I am because you have all the regulated uniform materials. What do you think? Yeah.
Also talk about the number of iterations for.
Oh, good, yeah. Yeah, at some point, and you guys, basically, the way to do that with iterations is you find out how many iterations it takes to make it look kind of smooth. And then you just deal with the fact that it might take longer or shorter. I always start at like 4 iterations because sometimes 4 iterations is enough to get it where I want it. Okay, what else? Okay, so on top of that, if you have all of these, the Autodesk generic is a simple way to pick a color and then assign it to objects in your scene. Another fun perk of the iRay renderer is that it does light bouncing automatically, so you'll notice a little bit of green around where his feet are. And these brighter green areas where the light's bouncing off of itself and making it more green.
So you said there was an Autodesk generic. There it is.
And then if you don't have it, let's talk about if you don't have Autodesk generic. So you've got Arch and Design, make a new Arch and Design. should probably save this. It's a good time to save. So this is a good time. I don't know if I mentioned it already in this class. Forgive me if I have. But using the cylinder shape as your photometric light can do a lot of really fun stuff. Especially if it's a little bit higher up. And then you've got maybe like 3 of them. Shit. So at this point my scene might be too bright. But it's gonna look freaking awesome. Okay, what do we got here? This and with the right lighting, it can start to look almost scarily real. Not scarily, almost awesomely real. Especially if you add materials to everything. Gray, okay. And then reflectivity. Nice. Why don't you make your plane nice and small?
Okay.
I think that would be fun. Yeah.
Do that.
What'd you do in the background? Oh. Work. Oh, you might not have done this. You have to have it. Over and work. The tab. And then this number of light passes is maybe. Maximum number of light passes. Yeah. over your scene. Okay. Imagine this light being kind of overhead shadows kind of stuff. What do you think? It looks pretty awesome, right?
The glass is really glassy, even though it's really green.
Yeah. Make sure you apply a material to your floor. Get those cylinder lights in there. Okay. It looks really good. Lots of iterations.
20 iterations, 60 bounces.
Okay. Yeah, it looks really good. What do you think? I mean, it's grainy.
I'm trying to get it like a little less grainy. So I keep changing the brightness.
It's awesome. Pretty awesome.
I really like it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. What do you think, Ben? Happy with what you're getting?
Yeah. There's one thing, so for the last one, I didn't have at home.
Yeah.
Pretty much broke.
This is
Nice
fine.
shadow. Yeah.
I saw that. It's easy to fix.
Is it?
Yeah. So that's your indirect illumination on the Quicksilver render,
Oh.
and we leave it at 100 and get that. Increase to 1,000, and it's perfect. No flash. That looks awesome. Great work.
It's sick.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. Yeah. You happy? You've done all this though, right? Yeah. Good man. Okay, so a couple of things about my scene. If you notice my floor being a little bit reflective, but also at the same time kind of mottled. That's because I added a noise or a dent map to my bump image. So let's see, I'll do it with the Arch and Design. Make sure everybody can get to this. So select a template, we'll just do like glossy finish. And then in the roughness map, we can just assign a dent map
So where's the other glossy finish? And then what else?
right here. Roughness. Click that box and select dent. Yep. But then what you're going to get the first time is something really rough and really big dents. Oh, it looks pretty nice actually. It looks kind of like sand or mud. And the way that you make that smaller, so maybe it's just, you know, some kind of concrete or something other like that, is to just double click on this dent and change the size down to something smaller. Like mine's at 2. I'm going to set this one to 50 because I'm intrigued by the way that this is playing with things. So different ways to do that, but adding a map to your material will add this micro surface or regular macro surface change. And just add realism in a very nice real way. Okay, I like my other one better. I can probably add a checker map. Nice. That's pretty cool. Maybe a bit too glossy. Okay. So these are the things I want you to have. I'm going to build up a list of what I just taught you today, make up an assignment for you. I have, and then we're going to motion capture something and render it out today / this week. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yep.
Questions? Okay. All right. 10-minute break. When you get back, there will be recording in the green room, recording in that room, and then recording in the big green screen room. So if you want to run around a little bit more, the big green screen room is open. So I'll walk you guys through that. Go ahead and give me a nice still image of what you got here. Save it, because I don't want you to send that to me as it is. This will be your in-class part, different than your homework.
Should we call it like iRay or something?
Yeah, Mocap week 5 in class, whatever you like.
And then a JPEG, right?
Let's do PNG.
PNG.